All right, what is going on, everybody? The Xbox 2 podcast is live after a week away. I'm one of your co-hosts, Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, and with me, as usual, the man who is just off of vacation, playing World of Warcraft, of course. Jez Corden of Windows Central. What's going on, buddy?
Hey man, I had a sweet vacation in Azeroth for a week. I didn't want to do anything strenuous, so I just thought, you know what? I'm just gonna go to Azeroth for a week. And I did
So
great.
was it one of those staycations where
A staycation, yeah.
where you stayed at home and you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna enjoy this week? Because I asked him last week, I was like, you want to do a podcast? And he's like, mate, I'm on vacation. I'm like, oh, all right, you're on vacation. Sounds good.
I didn't say it like
You
that.
just were on vacation though. You're just at E3, but I guess that wasn't really a vacation. That was work.
Dude, that is not a vacation. I was dead after every day. That was E3 is the hardest week of the year, man.
Yeah.
I wish it could be. I wish I could go for fun, but nah, man, that is grueling, hard work. I was actually saying earlier that it's the ultimate first world problem. That like you get to go to LA, this awesome city, and check out all these games, but then it basically kills you because it's so hard. And they made it even harder because Microsoft moved out of the LA Convention Center, so that added about 6 kilometers of walking to my day every day, back and forth between Microsoft's bit and the main bit. But I need the exercise, man. So maybe they did me a favor.
Yeah. Well, we did miss a lot of stuff. So we're going to talk about a whole bunch of different topics. Xbox Live free speech would be one of them. Something that happened a little bit ago. We talk about and whatever else we really feel like. But the show's gonna be mainly focused on a couple things. One being the Remedy and Alan Wake news, which got everybody up in a tizzy the other day.
Even me.
Yeah, well, yesterday or the day before. No, I think it was Monday. Yeah, it was Monday. Which caused Jez to put out all these tweets recently, like very much, I don't know, dissatisfied is the word about the hardcore and the Xbox. What'd you call it? The forgotten hardcore?
I didn't call it that.
No, maybe I called it that.
I think you called it that. I said that I don't care about fans of single player games. But I admit I was a little bit salty.
You're a little bit salty.
Maybe I was a little bit unfair, but there is they have earned that reputation, I think. We can get into that in more detail in a minute.
Yeah. So we're talking about that. Because it all kind of stems from one thing. It's like Remedy and the Alan Wake situation, how the Xbox fans feel, some of them feel forgotten. Like, hey, man, I'm hardcore. What's going on here? The Sony interview with Wall Street Journal, where they're like, yeah, we don't even care about indies no more. All we care about is AAA exclusives. So that's what, the PS5 is going to be. So, yeah, a lot of stuff to talk about. But before we get into any of that, it's games. Jez, I know you play World of Warcraft. Literally nobody in the chat here, not Saltiest Gaming or Sam Tolbert or FC Violent or anybody listening, is going to care about what you've been doing to World of Warcraft. So,
are you sure about that?
I'm sure. Does anybody in here care about Jez's continued adventures in World of Warcraft? If you do, type 1, because I certainly don't. But
there's nothing new. It's just like it's more like a hobby, just playing with friends and stuff like that. I added some new stuff, but it's not groundbreaking. I don't know. But in any case,
nobody has said they care, Jez. Nobody.
A lot of people say they care. What are you talking about?
No, nope, don't
care. 1, 2, 3, 4. I see 4 ones, man. I see 4 ones. Well, for those people that do care, I do have an article coming next week. Should you play WoW in 2019? So check that out. But I have been playing other games besides World of Warcraft, my dude.
Yeah.
I reviewed They Are Billions for Xbox One, which is a zombie apocalypse strategy simulator. Have you heard of this game? They are brilliant.
I did hear about this game when it came out on PC. What was it, last year?
Yeah. It's basically like Age of Empires 2, but you play only against the computer, and the computer is crap loads of zombies. And it's just like horde mode, basically. Survival mode. You build up a town, make walls, towers, armies, and fight against increasing numbers of undead. And it's just coming to Xbox One, but Rand, it is an awful port.
Ooh, I don't like hearing that. Awful port, huh?
It's awful. And it sort of created, but the problem with the port is it's sort of like growing pains of putting mouse and keyboard on Xbox. Because they put mouse and keyboard support on Xbox, right? But it's half-assed, mate. Do you know how bad it is, mouse and keyboard on Xbox?
I have not tried mouse and keyboard on Xbox. I know they do have that accessory with Razer, right? The official kind of
Yep.
wireless turret. But
I've
so
got that.
how is the
Razer was-
implementation?
Razer was nice enough to give me one of their turrets to review, and they let me keep it. Thanks, Razer. And basically, there are huge problems with mouse and keyboard support on Xbox One because, first and foremost, you need to have your Xbox controller with you at all times because you can't navigate the dashboard with the mouse and keyboard. So you still have to sign into the game using your controller. And then once you're in the game, then you can use mouse and keyboard. However, you know, lots of games, like they say, no controller detected, please connect to controller.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have your Xbox controller plugged in and it times out and turns off, it doesn't consider mouse and keyboard a connected controller. So you have to keep turning on your Xbox controller constantly or leave it plugged in. Otherwise, you keep getting interrupted. There's just loads of little annoyances like that with mouse and keyboard on Xbox. And it isn't They Are Billions' fault. That part isn't. But because Xbox has mouse and keyboard, They Are Billions, the dudes who ported They Are Billions, which isn't the developers of the game, it's like a third party ported the game. They must have just thought, oh, Xbox has mouse and keyboard support. We won't bother making decent controller controls because it is terrible, awful with a controller. Absolutely terrible.
Yikes.
So, like, you have to play it with mouse and keyboard, in my opinion, to enjoy it because of how bad the gamepad controls are. And even then, the mouse and keyboard experience on Xbox is terrible as of writing, or as of talking, rather. So, the saving grace for that Billions is that it's only $25. But my God, please just get it on PC. Please get it on PC. Don't get it on Xbox unless they fix all that stuff. Oh, and also the Xbox version doesn't have the campaign mode, which the PC version has, and there are currently no firm plans whether or not they're going to add it. So, GG. But other than that, Rand, I haven't really been playing anything, except, you know, all the stuff we talked about on the last show from E3. Just a bit of Minecraft here and there, just a bit of random games here and there, you know. My backlog is ridiculous, and I really want to play The Outer Wilds, which everyone was going.
Yeah, a lot of people are
wild
raving about that game.
They're going wild about it. Get it?
Wild.
Wild.
Ooh, yeah, nice pun there. Nice pun.
Thanks, man. I've been working on that for 2 weeks. But yeah, it's just I just been back on that WoW train, man. It's kind of like summer. I'm basically just waiting for Gears 5 to come out at this point. I was hoping that our Billions would be good enough to play on Xbox, but I think I'll just stick to it on PC. Oh, speaking of PC, Rand, before we move on to your games, I've just bought a new gaming laptop with RTX 2060 in it. I've decided to join the PC Master Race, man.
Well, welcome. I am also a part of the PC Master Race.
Oh, really?
But I have never used my PC for any gaming, although maybe I should, because I have Xbox Game Pass PC. Well, I have Game Pass Ultimate. Which gives me all the Game Pass on PC.
Yeah, Undertale just hit Game Pass for PC. Lots of really good games are hitting Game Pass.
Lots of really good games on PC for Windows 10 that aren't even on Xbox. Undertale is on like literally every platform, not on Xbox. The Messenger on every platform, but not on Xbox. I don't understand why. It's super easy because they can
Football
basically
Manager.
take the PC ports on Steam, put them on Windows 10, and it's super easy. But yeah, there's a lot of those games that don't even bother coming to Xbox. So it is what it is. What are you going to do about it?
Oh,
Um, but like you, since you went back to World of Warcraft, I went back to PUBG. I figured since you can do it, I can do it.
oh wow. PUBG, that game you've told me like 4 times you're quitting.
Well, yeah, yeah, I don't, yeah, there's nothing to play right now.
How
Uh,
have they changed anything in PUBG recently? Because I always see Fortnite gets like new content, and now there's like Stranger Things
I mean,
coming to
there's
Fortnite.
like a new update. I mean, the game runs a lot better.
All right.
They've added a lot of quality of life improvements. And the other day we won like I think we won like 6 games in a row. So it was like one of the best nights of PUBG ever. So I've been playing that, but I got out of my gaming funk thanks to Katana Zero on the Switch. That's right, it was so bad I dusted off my Switch, which I haven't
Katana
played since
Zero. I think I
last
saw
year.
you. I thought I saw you tweeting about Katana Zero.
Yeah, Katana
Is
Zero.
that only on Switch?
It is on Switch and PC, so Steam. Yes, it's
Ah,
not on
okay.
PlayStation. It's not on Xbox. It's a Devolver Digital game, and it is absolutely fantastic. You guys are
Nice.
listening to this podcast and haven't heard of Katana Zero. Look up some trailers. It's very reminiscent of Hotline Miami. It's one of those fast-paced games where like you come into a room and the goal is to literally kill everybody in there, and uh, you're a samurai wielding like bathrobe wearing assassin, and you can basically kind of like slow down time. So like it's like super fast, but you have this like precognition. So like you don't actually die in the game. Like all your runs where you're trying to figure stuff out is just you like figuring out the best way, and then you figure it out and then it happens. It is so awesome. And it's like a 5-hour game that honestly I cannot recommend it enough. Like I think it was on sale. I think it might be on sale on Steam right now. But holy cow, that game is amazing.
I'm gonna check that out on my new gaming laptop because I'm now
Like
ascended. Right?
they made
Ascended.
you feel so good when you can just when you just kill people with the swords. Like just the way it controls and how
It's
it
side scrolling,
feels.
right?
It's like I would say it's a side scroller, but just watch some trailers. I mean, it has a pretty interesting story, but the gameplay is just incredibly top notch.
There's a lot of
Um,
interesting side scrollers coming out recently, like Bloodstained as well, who's surprisingly getting really great reviews. My friend Pedro,
My
like
friend Pedro,
the
yeah.
side
What Salty
scrolling
said
Matrix.
was amazing. But even that didn't come to PlayStation. A lot of these games are seemingly going to Switch first. And I know we've had this discussion before. You think that's because there's nothing to play on the Switch.
Yeah.
It's because there's no big AAA titles. So stuff like, Control's not going to be there. A Men of Medan, obviously Gears is an exclusive and Death Stranding is exclusive, but Borderlands 3 is not on the Switch, and Star Wars not on the Switch, and every big AAA game's not there. So you've always said, they just don't have games, but I mean they do buy what's there. So I mean I don't know, definitely more than other platforms, you know.
I mean, yeah, the Switch is a different beast. I mean, it's a different experience. Like the fact that you can take it with you is a different dynamic. Like I might play, and also games like Bloodstained. Well, actually, Bloodstained's a bad example because apparently that's a really terrible Switch port. But like other side scrollers, say like Darkest Dungeon, like which is a game I always seem to bring up on this podcast for some reason. I love Darkest Dungeon. I love it. Everyone should go and buy it. But Darkest Dungeon, for example, Darkest Dungeon's a great game for Switch because it's turn-based. You can pick it up and put it down really easily, and you can play it in small bite-sized chunks, which you might do if you're traveling around with the Switch. But like Doom on Switch, in my opinion, is awful. I would much rather play that on my Xbox any day of the week.
Mm.
Like I actually bought Doom on the Switch out of pure curiosity, and I just couldn't handle it. It was just It was just awful. Like when you have the option to play on a powerful PC or a powerful console, like I don't know, I would rather play it on there if I have the option. But I would rather sometimes play the side-scrolling games on the Switch. So I think there's a lot of factors in why some games seem to sell better on the Switch. It's not just a case of there aren't as many AAA games. I do think that's part of it, but I also think it's just the user paradigm is a bit different too. I don't know.
Yeah, and the other game I started checking out is Hollow Knight
Hollow
on the
Knight.
Xbox.
I downloaded Hollow Knight years ago, and I was just like, still, that's another backlog game. Oh, that backlog.
So my buddy at Xbox, Nick, he has been badgering me about playing Hollow Knight. He thinks I'll love it. And I do love platformers. And so I started playing it like, yeah, okay, no problem. Like I'll give it a chance. I've been told like, hey, you need to play it for a few hours, because it's very slow at the beginning. Like the beginning is the worst, right? And I could definitely see why. So I beat the first two bosses. I like the game, but I'm not in love with it yet. And there are some issues I do have with the game. Like the first boss, Jez, you look at the achievements. Xbox has like achievement rarity. You can see how many people have beaten something, like how or have the achievement, right? So the first boss, which you can get to, 45 minutes in, not very long. Only 35% of the people who've played it on Xbox has that achievement. Which means 65% of the people who have played Hollow Knight on Xbox didn't even bother playing the game for more than 40 minutes and beating the first boss. And there's a reason why. Because the map system in Hollow Knight is one of the worst I've ever seen.
Rand, I think you'd be surprised actually how many, since the advent of things like Game Pass and Games with Gold, I think you'd be surprised how many people actually do just play a game for a few seconds and then drop it.
I'm
I was
sure, yeah.
shocked.
I mean, it is.
I
It
was
is on.
shocked, right? When I
It is on Game
completed
Pass. Yeah.
completed like The Evil Within on normal difficulty. That's a rare achievement. Just completing The Evil Within is a rare achievement. I suppose it's because it's a bit of a spooky game and a bit tough in the middle, but I don't know.
But so I'm gonna give it more time. It is definitely very much heavy on exploration. And I do find myself wasting a lot of time backtracking to find out a lot of the, like where I should be going, but it looks great. It controls really good. The combat really hasn't opened up yet. It's your basic, like you can slash up and then in both forward and back and then slash down. But it seems like it could get like really amazing eventually, but it is definitely like a vast game. So I'm gonna be playing that, and
I want to check
then
that out. I want to check that out.
yeah, and then I've decided to finally take the plunge and play Bloodborne.
How's that
Probably
going for you?
sometime next week. I'll start up Bloodborne, and we'll see if the amazing Sekiro has ruined Bloodborne or any of the other Dark Souls games for me, because I love Sekiro. It's my game of the year. And I just have this feeling that I'm not going to be able to, attack as much as I want because there is no stamina meter in Sekiro. And I was so aggressive when I played Sekiro. Like I would get in enemies' faces and I would attack and block and deflect. And I know you really can't do that so much in Bloodborne, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Because there are some games I want to finish up on PlayStation. Like I remember I started Horizon Zero Dawn for like 2 hours and I stopped playing it. Kind of want to play that again. I'm actually thinking about actually playing Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild on the Switch. I know, right?
You hate Nintendo.
I know, right?
Isn't that
Like,
your
what is
thing?
it? Like, I saw like Nick's tweets about it, and people, people I trust were like, you really are missing out by not playing Zelda and stuff. And I'm just like, I do own Zelda. I do own Mario Odyssey, which I played a little bit of Mario Odyssey. It's cool, but it's like nothing really that's like, well, maybe I should finish it. But yeah, maybe I should play Zelda. Maybe I should finish that game. Or play it. I haven't played a Zelda since the Wind Waker. So like I've only played 2 Zelda games, which was the very first one and Wind Waker. So that's why I don't really have a lot of love for Nintendo. I wasn't really with their platform, but like I'm watching some of the stuff. I'm like, maybe I should just play Zelda. You know, I have the
I
Switch.
want
I
to
might
play
as
the
well
new
play
one.
it.
What's the new one called? The new old one, the remake of the old one. I can't remember what it's called now.
The one that's coming out like at the end of the year, I think.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called now. Someone in chat, please help. But they remade the first Zelda game, didn't they? With all sort of cutesy graphics and stuff. I want to play that one.
I
But
haven't. I have no
Link's
idea.
Awakening. Thanks, Salty.
Yeah.
Link's Awakening. Yeah, I want to play that one. Since all my hype for Pokemon Sword and Shield has evaporated.
Yeah, thank God I don't got to play Pokemon this year. You know.
You still have to play it.
Ow! What? Excuse me.
Wait, you still have to play
You
it.
you said Pokemon sucks because they're getting rid of all
What's wrong with
Pokemon.
you? Think of the children.
Oh yeah. We'll see. So yeah, I mean, like, what we have like one game coming out this in July, and that's at the end of the month, and I believe it's Wolfenstein. What, the New Blood, right? With the 2 sisters. It's like $30. I'm not expecting much from that game, to be honest. I really kind of expect it to be an asset flip from the Wolfenstein 2. August is what? Control and Man of Medan.
Oh, Gears is September.
Yeah, and I think there's another game in August. It's like Control, Man of Medan, and I think there's another game, but I'm off the top of my head, I'm not really. I'm not sure.
I'm gonna look it up.
And then September, for me, September is really just Gears. Like I don't really have that much of an interest in Borderlands 3. So for me, it's just Gears.
I thought I was the only one who didn't care about Borderlands 3. I really don't like Borderlands. I mean, I respect people that do, but I just don't get I honestly don't get what it's so wrong with.
I need to go and finish Witcher 3. Salty says you skipped over Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. Yeah, I know that game comes out this month, but I'm just kind of talking about like the stuff I want to play. Like I'm not playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. I have nobody to play it with, and I'm just not interested. So it's like for September, it's just Gears for me. Like I'm looking up
the releases now. Let's have a look. So we've got Wolfenstein Youngblood. That's 25 quid, $30, I guess. Oh, this is one game I'm looking forward to. Age of Wonders Planetfall, because it's like it's Civ crossed with XCOM with alien zombies. So, and I played that at E3. It's really good. So if you like Civilization, keep an eye on Age of Wonders Planetfall. It's coming to Xbox and it should actually have good controls. There's also Wreckfest, which has got some hype. Do you know much about that? It's like a destruction derby game, I think, off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
Control Blair Witch is coming out.
Yeah. That was the other game, Blair Witch.
Yeah.
They all come out like around the same day. It's like August 27th is Control, which, by the way, is my birthday. So, people think about what you want to get me for my birthday. It's August 27th. August 27th.
Share a birthday with my sister.
And then what? I think you said Blair Witch is the 30th, and so is Man of Medan, I believe, which I'm really excited for.
What is that?
Because I really enjoyed Until Dawn on the PlayStation 4. So it's like one of my favorite games on the PlayStation 4, and they're making Man of Medan, so like I am all in on that game.
Not exclusive.
No. They went multi-platform with this one. Supermassive game.
I can't see it on the Xbox store. It must not be available for pre-order.
No, it's not available for pre-order yet for whatever reason. I don't know. I've talked to people about that. It's like when you should go to a coming soon page, it should list all the games that are really coming soon, but it only lists the games that are available for pre-order. So sometimes it makes it seem like there's nothing coming soon for Xbox, and it's like, well, that's a store thing, and that's the pre-order thing. And it's like, I mean, yeah.
I mean, like the fall season's pretty stacked. I mean, once Gears comes out, then you've got like Borderlands 3. People are interested in that. Destiny 2 expansion.
Yeah.
I thought you liked Destiny.
No. I deleted Destiny 2 and Destiny 1 off my. I'm done. I don't care what they do. Whatever Bungie's planning for Destiny 3, I'm telling you guys right here, right now, I will make you a promise. I will not be buying Destiny 3. They can go jump. I'm done with
Well,
Destiny.
we'll see, because you've said this about PUBG like
Well,
twice.
PUBG's different. I was addicted
No,
to
but dude,
PUBG. I have look.
Rand, I know you. If all your friends start playing Destiny,
They ain't, but that's
you
the
will
thing.
follow.
None of them care about Destiny. Gopher doesn't care about Destiny.
No.
Maka
Of
will.
course.
He'll make videos about it because he'll make money doing those videos. Magic doesn't care about it. It's only one person's gonna do it. Nobody else will. So I don't care. Like I got screwed over with Destiny 1, and then Destiny 2 was a joke on me, and I'm out. I'm done. I don't care. Whatever they do for Destiny 3, I'm sure it'll be some free to play hybrid a la Warframe. Yeah, I don't do not care whatsoever.
What about, okay, so after Destiny 2 Shadowkeep, we've got the Surge 2. You interested in that?
Kind of. We'll see. Yeah, I mean, Surge 1 was all right.
And we got Code Vein coming out on, hang on, the store wants to load sometime this year, 27th of September. Oh my god, all this is in September. So in September, you've got Gears, Destiny, Borderlands, Grid, Pro Evolution Soccer 2020, NHL 2020.
Well, don't forget the expansion for Monster Hunters in September.
Oh my god.
So that's September? Not on. That's the same week as or the week before Gears. So for me, it's really just Gears in September.
Recon Breakpoint, Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
That's October. So yeah, October gets a little bit better. I'll be playing probably Ghost Recon, definitely Outer Worlds and Call of Duty Modern Warfare. But that's it in October, and then November will be Death Stranding, Star Wars, and Doom Eternal.
Oh, is that no? Oh, okay. I wish the coming soon page on Xbox actually separated it by month.
Yeah.
And then the last game on the pre-order list is Cyberpunk 2077, which is out next year.
Yeah, they have Cyberpunk and Watch Dogs up and stuff. So it's like they have games all the way to like April 2020, but like some of the stuff, isn't. I'm
super hyped
there for this year.
For the rest of the year, I'm really excited about Gears 5, and Outer Worlds, Doom. But that's pretty much it. I'm intrigued by Watch Dogs Legion, and I'm intrigued by Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, but I'm sort of keeping my expectations a bit in check at the moment. But yeah, man, it's there still might be games that get revealed, right? At Gamescom, maybe.
Nah, I think all the games that are coming out this holiday are pretty much all out. Like, I think we know what the schedule is. Yeah,
I guess. Oh, Monster Hunter Iceborne. I played that at E3, by the way. Did I tell you about that?
Yes, you did.
Feels so good. Feels so good. You can grapple onto monsters and stab them while they're trying to throw you off in the snow and ice. I'm gonna rage and grind, and it's gonna be glorious all over again. But yeah, man. I think we went off on a bit of a tangent. Weren't you telling us what games you've been playing, or
I already did. We did. We kind of wanted. I already talked about the games I was playing. Okay. Hollow Knight. I'm currently playing Hollow Knight. I finished Katana Zero. Playing PUBG. Gonna be doing Bloodborne soon. Thinking about playing Zelda and Witcher 3 and stuff, and waiting basically until September. Really, well, Control. Like I love Remedy, which
I love Remedy too. We should probably talk about that.
Let's before we talk about Remedy, I wanted to talk about Bleeding Edge first.
Oh, okay.
Because I read your article.
Oh, you did. Thank you.
And I thought it was really well done. And I saw the reaction to your gameplay post on Twitter, which, man, the compression on Twitter sucks because the 4K footage you have in your article looks way better than what that gameplay little clip looked on Twitter, right?
Yeah,
but holy hell, are a lot of people really pissed off about Bleeding Edge. Like, my entire timeline was people either tweeting at you about that game or quote tweeting you with the the footage. But so I don't know. What do you think about Bleeding Edge? Like, I am in the alpha. I have loaded it up. I've played like the training mode and the dojo and stuff. I haven't actually, like last week when it was live, I didn't get a chance to play it, but I'll play it tomorrow. So I don't have anything really to say about how it plays, but it did look pretty polished to me. Like, I think this game can pretty much this game to me screams early next year, like early 2020 title. Like I was surprised by how
Yeah,
finished it almost looked.
I have played it. It feels like it's pretty far along, to be honest. Like they've got like the basic sort of every character has all their animations done and all their abilities in. There are two more characters that haven't been revealed yet. So I guess they're still being worked on. But like for the most part, it seems like almost pretty much ready to go. I think like what they're doing with the beta is testing the maps. Like, are they too big? Are they too small? Are there enough like line of sight things and stuff like that? Because I spoke to Ronnie Tucker, who is the gameplay director, I want to say, of Bleeding Edge at E3. And she said that like it's inspired by games like Smite, World of Warcraft PvP, Arena, and it actually started life as a MOBA type game, but then it sort of evolved into sort of more of an arena type game because they wanted to put the focus on the combat of the characters rather than the overarching strategy of winning the map control and stuff like that. So they wanted to put the complexity into learning how to play the characters and learning how to counter and stuff like that. Um, I played it at E3, so I'm not leaking the tech test. If anyone from Microsoft's listening to this, this is my impressions from playing at E3. It felt really good. It felt kind of like playing World of Warcraft Arena, but with a modern engine, because like World of Warcraft Arena is sort of it's hindered by its 15-year-old engine. There's no real physics, and the collision stuff is not the best, and that sort of thing. But this has like gratuitous violence as well, which Overwatch doesn't have. Like I and it has ultimate powers and stuff like that, and really great character designs. And I remember like popping my ult, which stunned everyone in area effect, and then a train came through and just squashed everyone, and there was just blood and guts everywhere. And I just thought, yes, that felt awesome. But at the same time, I think like there are some refinements I'd like to see in the combat and stuff. Like it doesn't feel very modern. I think like if you're expecting it to play like Devil May Cry or something like that, it doesn't really play like that. It plays
No, it definitely
like
doesn't.
no, it plays a little bit more. Honestly, it felt like playing like an MMO almost in terms of like the fact that you lock on to the character and then you just sort of beat them down and stuff and use your abilities that have cooldowns and stuff like that. So like there are strategic elements to combat and also working with your teammates and stuff like that. Um so but it is very clear that it is made by a smaller team. It lacks some
That's true. And salty ass. So there isn't an NDA. Interesting. No, there is.
there is an NDA on the
You can't.
technical test. I'm talking about
Well, no,
I'm
no. So
talking
you can talk about the technical test all you want.
can you really?
You just can't show screenshots or video of it. You can't
Oh really? I
stream
didn't
it.
know.
It's like yeah, you can't like take a screenshot. You can't stream it. You
Oh,
can't
okay.
do any of that stuff. But you can talk about your experience with the game.
All right, cool.
But yeah, I mean, I didn't get to play it, but I was like, when I loaded up, I'm like, this game seems pretty polished already. I think it's coming out early next year, but uh, I don't know. It just definitely seems, even looking at your clip that you posted on Twitter, it seems a little too slow.
It is, yeah. It
That would be
feels
my one
kind
thing
of
is like speed
slow.
it up, you know?
Yeah, I think that's why I like to see speed it up a bit. It feels like you're bound to the character's animations. Like when you do a melee attack, and fair enough if you're playing as Buttercup, who's a tank, right? Fair enough that her attacks will be slow. But when I was playing as uh like Kulev, who's like a sort of range support class, like even his attacks felt slow. Like everything felt a bit slow, and I think like on the one hand, maybe they've done that so it's easy to balance the game and stuff like that. But on the other hand, that kind of betrays the whole essence of where a brawler should be, which is like pure chaos and stuff like that. Like it's kind of hard to put what I mean into words because it is so similar in some ways to World of Warcraft melee combat. But even World of Warcraft's melee combat feels faster than Bleeding Edge, which is probably a weird thing to say. Like if I'm playing a rogue in WoW, you're just seeing damage numbers flying all over the place, and you know,
Do you know if it's
there's
60,
always something to press.
do you
In
know if
World of
it's
Warcraft, there's
60,
always
60 frames?
yes, it's 60 frames.
Okay, I wasn't too sure because I didn't actually play against people, but
Well, actually, I'm gonna retract that because I ain't sure 100% if I think off the top of my head I was playing on a dev kit at E3 and it was 60 frames. So I don't want to sort of commit to the idea that it is 60 frames until I know for sure if whether or not I was playing on PC or not. I
yeah.
think it is 60 frames though.
I mean, the game just needs to be good. I know it won't be a lot of people's bag, so to speak. I mean, it is a melee combat 4v4 action game, so a lot of people are going to be like, I really don't have time for this. A lot of people wanted a single player narrative from Microsoft, and this game isn't
I'll
that.
tell you what it's better than.
What's it better than?
Crackdown 3's multiplayer.
Well, anything is better than Crackdown 3's multiplayer. Anything.
Okay, fair
What
enough.
isn't? It would be
But,
easier for us to sit up here and be like, "Hey guys, what isn't better than Crackdown 3's multiplayer?"
Okay. But like, maybe I should add some context. But there was so much hype about Crackdown 3 multiplayer because of the power of the cloud, you know. But it goes to show that the power of cloud doesn't matter unless you have a great underlying tech behind it. I would like to see the power of the cloud in Bleeding Edge rather than the power of the cloud in Crackdown. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that it doesn't make sense in terms of the combat and stuff like that, but I do think they genuinely have something here. And I almost feel bad for the team that are working on this because they've clearly poured a lot of passion and effort into this. The character designs are absolutely stunning. And oh my god, Sajibot just dropped here.
Sajibot with the huge donation. You are now a victim of my donation addiction. I'm sorry, but here's money. Thank you for the support, buddy. It's greatly appreciated. So yeah, it's
awesome.
that red banner looks real nice there, you know?
It does look nice. But wow, that completely threw me off.
Yeah, I don't even know what were we saying.
I
About,
was saying like well anyway. Bleeding Edge.
Yeah, Bleeding Edge. I hopefully like Ninja Theory's never let me down. In any of the games there that I've played of theirs, it's always been good. I'm just a little bit worried I'm not gonna like the melee focus of this one.
Well,
But
there are a couple of ranged characters.
there's a chick with the gun and stuff like that. But I am surprised by how far along the game seems. It seems very polished. Definitely seems like it's going to be ready to come out early next year. I think a lot of the tech test is mainly for getting. It was one of the first games I loaded up and it said PlayFab. I don't think I've ever noticed like a PlayFab icon on a game before.
Oh, they're starting to do that now.
Yeah, and then like I think a lot of the characters are unbalanced from reading some stuff, so I think a lot of that will be about balancing the characters. But
Yeah.
considering
about balance, I said like, you know, one of the big sort of issues with World of Warcraft Arena has always been that because it's a 4v4 game, but there's about 10 heroes. I think there's going to be 12 in total. Like one of the big problems with World of Warcraft, in the sense that it's class based, is that you end up in a situation where some teams just aren't viable, and you have to take this character, or you have to take that character, or you have to take this combination or that combination. And like there's like this whole thing in World of Warcraft where like at least back in the day, for years, the arena team for 3v3 was Rogue, Mage, Priest, and you couldn't have any other team comp. Like it just didn't work. And but they said like they're aware of all that, and she was saying like she's passionate about this kind of games, and she just wants to, you know, make sure that it's all balanced and tweaked and stuff like that. And to be fair to Bleeding Edge, they do seem to have a lot less abilities and variables. It does seem to be a sort of, I don't want to say simplified, but it's sort of like they don't have a PvE component to balance against, which is something Destiny struggled with as well, like balancing for PvP versus PvE and stuff like that, you know.
yeah.
But in any case, I don't know. It's I'm tentatively optimistic for it, but I also feel bad for the team because everyone's like, "Oh my God, where's Hellblade 2?" And it's almost like I've seen people blaming Microsoft for forcing them to make the game, even though they were making that game before Microsoft acquired them. And also, I feel bad because there's clearly a lot of passion that's gone into this. But like most people were just like, "Why aren't you making Hellblade 2? That's the game we want. We don't want this." You know?
Well, that's the thing. When Microsoft bought Ninja Theory, everybody thought, "Hey, Microsoft's really kind of hasn't been putting out, single player, cinematic exclusives," and they get Ninja Theory, who's that's what they're known for. I mean, their last three games were Hellblade, um, Heavenly Swell. It was Hellblade, DMC, and the reboot of Devil May Cry, Enslaved Odyssey of the West, and then even before that, Heavenly Sword on the PlayStation. So everybody just assumed it was going to be a single player game, and then out of the first game you get. And remember when I told you I found out what the game was, and I said to you, people are gonna be pissed and furious, and I was like, because it's not a single player game, and you were like, oh man, does Microsoft not get it? I mean, it's easy to predict sometimes how people are going to react, but moving on from Bleeding Edge, hopefully, gets the feedback that they're looking for, and I think it's going to come out early next year. Like Microsoft, like Phil talked about how there are 12 of the 14 games that they showed at E3 are coming out next year or within the next year, which is quite a lot. So, yeah, but moving on, I want to talk about Remedy since we're here. Oh man, Remedy. This is gonna be one long segment because it basically dovetails into the PS5 exclusive stuff and dovetails into the Xbox Forgotten hardcore because it basically touches on everything. But on Monday, Remedy put out to their shareholders that they had got about 2.5 million euro payout from royalties on previous games, and that including they now have the publishing rights to the first two Alan Wake games.
Yes.
So
Alan Wake and Alan Wake American
yes.
Nightmare.
So they have the full publishing rights to the Alan Wake franchise. And obviously, my first thought is like, oh boy, Alan Wake 2 isn't coming, right? Because I don't know, because it's cool that they got Alan Wake back, right? They've always owned the IP, but Microsoft had the publishing rights for Alan Wake. Now that Microsoft is
just basically say we won't publish this game.
Yeah, so now that Microsoft's giving it up, more than likely means that there's going to be an Alan Wake remaster, which would include American Nightmare and the DLC, more than likely on the PlayStation 4, maybe on the PlayStation 5, potentially on the Nintendo Switch, whatever platform, Remedy wants to choose, if they so choose, because, I mean, who knows if it actually will happen. And then I think that all kind of leads up to Alan Wake 2. Now, this led to so many people getting entirely upset with Xbox because I mean, you included, because
it just sort of it touched the nerve, right? Because I think on the first and foremost, I think it's great that Remedy got the publishing rights back because clearly they care about the IP, and clearly Microsoft doesn't. But that's where the sort of the triggeredness comes from. It's because why wouldn't Microsoft care about Alan Wake when they need games like Alan Wake? They need cinematic, realistic, single-player, third-person action games that are a very popular genre, and you're sitting on this grey IP which is completely wasted, and you just sort of give it away, And that's I just don't know why Microsoft thinks that it isn't worth it. They think it's not worthwhile, or they think Remedy isn't worth working with. I think it's really annoying. And it just sort of what it speaks to is this sort of idea, this meme almost, that Microsoft only cares really about building games that can deliver continuous engagement through multiplayer online action. It just doesn't feel like they care about games that don't have a multiplayer component. And yes, I know they are publishing the Outer Wilds. Well, they're not, but they own the IP. And I know that they bought In Exile, who are pretty much probably only going to make single player games. But at the same time, we're taking that on faith again. With Microsoft right now, for the last 3 years, we've just been constantly saying, wait till next year, wait till next year, wait till next year. And it's just sort of getting exhausting, you know?
Yeah, the whole weight thing does. I mean, there are some people that don't like Remedy. Salty says in chat that they're overrated. There are plenty of people who don't like their games. I mean, the PlayStation guys were crapping all over Alan Wake and Quantum Break, but suddenly those same people are now like, because there's rumors that Sony's going to go on an acquisition spree, and potentially one of the targets is Remedy. Now suddenly they're a great developer and who's made nothing but legendary games, of course. Of course. Console war in action. Now, I've always said the game I've wanted from Xbox more than any other, more than a Rise 2 or Sunset Overdrive 2 or anything, is Alan Wake 2. I love Alan Wake. I really enjoy Remedy's games. And my dream scenario was an E3 where you would be sitting in there, it'd be a black screen, everything goes, the whole stadium or whatever you would be, the whole conference is black, and you hear some typewriting, and then you'd hear Alan Wake say, "It's not a lake, it's an ocean," and then a woman's voice comes over and says, "Alan, wake up." And then it's a trailer for Alan Wake 2, and it's finally coming. That was kind of my dream scenario, even more so than a new Splinter Cell, right? More so than new Splinter Cell, because we've had how many Splinter Cell games? 1, 2, 3. We have Splinter Cell 1, Pandora Tomorrow, Chaos Theory, Double Agent, Conviction, Blacklist. There's been 6 Splinter Cell games. There's been 1 Alan Wake game. Okay? So I don't care what Zalker says in chat. Zalker is a fool. So he says that Remedy's overrated. Like I get Salty's like, hey, they're overrated. I agree, whatever. Like Salty, that's your opinion. But Zalker's a fool. He's a damn fool. He don't know what he's talking about. Zalker don't even play video games. He plays on PC and he plays Apex Legends and StarCraft 2. Who cares what Zalker has to say about anything?
Right? Hit me up about StarCraft 2, man.
Right? Who cares? Who cares what Zalker's got to say about anything? He's a damn fool. Okay.
Man. That's mean. But I'm with you, man. I love the. I think what pisses me off the most about this whole Remedy thing is that Remedy, they build worlds and they do it really well. Like the Quantum Break, like for what it lacked in sort of gameplay depth, it had excellent world building. It had intriguing characters, and it made me desperate to find out what happened in the sequel. A sequel that we're never going to get. And it's the same with Alan Wake. And maybe you could argue that Remedy almost did that on purpose to sort of force Microsoft into making a sequel, rather because they left both games on such annoyingly unresolved cliffhanger endings. But for whatever reason, Microsoft just doesn't see the value in their games, which is just, I mean, on paper, sure, they've clearly not pulled in a huge amount of revenue based on the investment, and stuff like that. But it comes back to those early discussions of nurturing your IP. Like one wasn't a huge hit, and stuff like that, Like Crash Bandicoot 1 wasn't like anywhere near as huge as it became later on. You wouldn't have expected Crash Bandicoot would be up there topping charts in 2019 based on the fact that people have a lot of nostalgia for that. And the nostalgia creates a halo effect over the franchise. And Alan Wake has some of that nostalgia. And the people who love that game, they sort of create intrigue. And that helps to push a sequel, And the feedback you get from making one game, you can use that and reinvest the money and make a better sequel, and then that's how you build a franchise, or at least that's how you used to build a franchise. And look at Mass Effect 1. Mass Effect 1 was a clunky mess, but it had something. It had
was. Mass Effect 1 was definitely a clunky mess.
Mass Effect 2 was a symphony of Unreal Engine masterpieceness, if that's not even a word, but I don't care. And I just don't know why Microsoft can't do that. Why do they always give up at the first hurdle? You know, why did they do that? I don't get it. I don't get it, Rand. Why did they do that? Rand, tell us why they do that.
Tell us why they do what?
Give up at the first hurdle. Give up without making any sequels.
Because well, I mean, there are plenty of reasons. I mean, Microsoft, especially at the beginning of this generation, if the game didn't sell well, they weren't making anything because the money was tight, right? So as much as people wanted to Rise 2 and all those games, it just wasn't in the cards. Now, that sucks, and I've said before that Microsoft needs to bite the bullet and throw a bone to the fans from time to time. Here, you know what would be the worst case scenario? And for Xbox fans for this, maybe not all Xbox fans, but for can you imagine? Okay, it's Alan Wake, comes out in 2010, right? People have been wanting a sequel to it. Obviously, Microsoft doesn't want anything to do with Alan Wake, the franchise, because when they went back to Microsoft after pitching Alan Wake 2 to other publishers, and nobody said, yeah, whatever, they went back to Microsoft, and Microsoft's like, how about Quantum Break? They didn't want anything to do with Alan Wake. It was pretty apparent back then. So they do Quantum Break. Turns out to be an expensive game, doesn't sell well. People are on it for a whole bunch of different reasons. 720p, all the different stuff. Didn't move the needle. And all of a sudden, as soon as that's over, they go multi-platform. They're making Control, which basically looks like Quantum Break with the female protagonist, or Quantum Break sequel. They're doing the single player.
Though, man. It's so unfair because it's not like Remedy were like, you know what, we want a bajillion dollars to make a Hollywood sort of transmedia game, with real live action stuff. That all of that stuff was part of Don Matrick's plan and Steve Ballmer's plan to turn Xbox into a sort of pseudo Netflix platform with their own shows. That was part of that whole plan, So it's not like they had literally spent like millions of dollars setting up Xbox TV studios or whatever it was called. I can't even remember. And they were planning on making TV shows. So I don't know why the current Microsoft administration would appear to be blaming Remedy for the failure of their own program. It was their program to have Hollywood stuff on Xbox, that whole TV sports stuff. That was their idea. So why the hell is it Remedy's fault, and why should they be blamed? I don't know.
I'm not I mean, yeah, I get it. It was Microsoft's idea, and they're the ones who need to push that. And I thought Quantum Break was really good, but that's just me, But here's the thing: what if, in this scenario, maybe it does happen, maybe it doesn't happen. But can you imagine a scenario where Sony's already out there saying through the media, through Wall Street Journal, yo, we're for the hardcore. You want big single player AAA games, or just big AAA games, period? We got a PlayStation 5 for you. And you know what? Any lapsed Microsoft Xbox fans out there, we're going to do you a favor. One of the games that we're making exclusively for the PlayStation 5 is Alan Wake 2. And Sony just being a little petty about it. Like, you want it, because it'll spawn this conversation that, like, hey, you want Xbox to make a sequel for any of their games? We'll just have Sony do it. Sony will do it for them.
And that's basically what happened with Bayonetta, right? Like, Bayonetta is basically a Nintendo exclusive now because no one else had funded it.
Well, yeah, so Bayonetta 1 didn't sell very well, and then basically, yeah, like Nintendo funded the project, and Bayonetta 2 was a Wii U exclusive because they poured all that money into it, and nobody else. I remember there were petitions like, "Oh, put Bayonetta 2 on the PS3 and the Xbox 360 or whatever." Yeah, the systems at the time, or maybe it was Xbox One and PS4, because Bayonetta 1 wasn't on the.
It was on the Wii U, right? The Wii U.
Yeah, so it wasn't on the system, so people are like, "What?" But that's kind of like, look, To me, if I get Alan Wake 2, I'm happy. I don't care who makes the game. I don't care if it was Nintendo. I don't care if it's Xbox. I don't care if it's PlayStation.
Or
As
if
long
it's
as I
Google.
get Alan Wake 2, I'm good. Although I
What,
would definitely be looking at Microsoft in a weird way, being like,
no,
weird.
no, but Rand. What if it's exclusive to Google Stadia?
Okay, now you just threw a monkey wrench on the whole thing. Look, the thing with Google Stadia, like any other, like any system, if they want me or anybody else to try out Google Stadia, they're going to have exclusives, right? Everybody here knows that I play most everything, pretty much everything on Xbox, right? That's where I play the multi-platform games. That's where I play the Xbox games. But I have a PlayStation for their exclusive games, and I have a Switch in case anything tickles my fancy, right? So if Alan Wake 2 somehow, if Google bought them, or if Google was like, you know what, we need a reason for people to turn on the Stadia to get into our ecosystem, and it was, hey, Alan Wake 2, yeah, I would spend the $130 for a Founders Edition or whatever, and I would play it strictly for Alan Wake 2 because that's the power of exclusives. If it's only on that system, then you're probably going to get me to play it. Now, I love Alan Wake 2. For other people, it wouldn't move the needle. I understand that. They wouldn't even care. That's fine. Whatever. But for me, I'd be like, okay, you're going to give me Alan Wake 2? I'll pick up your system. And sure enough, at least I don't have to buy hardware with Stadia, so that's a plus. So I wouldn't have to spend $500 on a system like I would, if I want like God of War 2 and things of that nature. But yeah, I'd pick it up, but I understand for other people they wouldn't. But it's definitely kind of the situation of like Xbox and the hardcore, or what I said in the tweet, the forgotten hardcore. Does Microsoft care enough about their hardcore to really fund those big AAA exclusives? And I'm not saying they have to be or are copied from Sony's kind of third person over the shoulder stories cinematic games. I'm talking, and this is the issue I brought up before, is Microsoft going to put a significant budget into anything that's not Halo, Gears, and Forza? Now, the initiative, I think 100%. I think whatever they're doing down there is the next big Xbox franchise. They are spending oodles of cash. They have gotten tremendous amount of talented developers to work on whatever project they're making.
But they were downplaying their own studio in an interview.
Yeah, they're downplaying it, but you can tell by the people that they're hiring and where they're hiring from. They're like basically collecting an all-star level talent for whatever they're doing there. They're not building some $5 million project or a AA experiment down there. Whatever they're doing down there, the initiative.
What if they're just making a AAA card battling game for Android? You don't know. Like this is the problem with Xbox. We just always taking everything on faith.
No, I'm not taking anything on faith. I understand.
I don't want to put any faith in the initiative until they prove themselves. Like,
well, yeah, understandable.
Just because they're hiring big names doesn't necessarily mean that team will gel well together and produce a great game.
Fair enough. I mean, that's true, and I don't expect to see the initiative's game until 2023. I don't think we'll see it at E3 next year. I'm not even too sure we'll see it at E3 2021. I think that game's super far away. If it is a big AAA production, if it's a small AA production, then who knows? But my point is, and look, I will reiterate, I don't necessarily want Microsoft to do exactly what Sony's doing. Right? Sony's games are great for what they offer. I just kind of want to see Microsoft pour money into something that isn't already Halo, Gears, and Forza. And that's why the initiative kind of is appealing to me, because it looks like they are, and it'll be something new. Whether it's a reboot of Perfect Dark, whether it's an entirely new IP, it definitely seems like money is going to be funneled there. Now, Obsidian, I'm all into Obsidian. Like, I think they're on the cusp of AA, AAA. And from what I had been told, Microsoft didn't buy Obsidian for the Outer Worlds. They bought Obsidian for the game that they were making at the same time. like the other game that they were making that they were really wild with. So while the first Outer Worlds, the one that comes out in October, is multi-platform, they bought them for their second game.
But part of me wonders if Microsoft even knows what a good game is anymore.
Okay, now you're getting to the thing that, like, yeah, we've had this discussion before. Does Microsoft even know how to make a good game?
Maybe they were wowed at what Obsidian's making, but will the rest of the world be wowed? Microsoft seemed to be wowed about Crackdown 3, and we all know what happened there.
Come on, I don't think. I mean, I'm sure there are people at Microsoft who I don't think anybody was wowed by Crackdown 3. I'm sure there's people that thought it was fun, what have you. I don't think anybody was wowed by it.
I'm just playing devil's advocate,
Okay, you're gonna play devil's advocate Microsoft again?
Yeah.
Okay.
I honestly wonder if they can see past the Forza Gears Halo paradigm that everyone criticizes them for. I really do wonder that. And we've got there are a lot of great AA games being pumped out. I consider State of Decay 2 a AA game, and in a lot of ways, I consider Sea of Thieves to be a AA game because it's lack of raw content, I guess. And they're great and they have a place on the platform, but like you said, I don't think they move the needle.
No, I 100% know. Indie games don't move the needle anywhere. Nobody buys an Xbox, a PlayStation, a Nintendo Switch for small indie titles. Like, if we're referencing that Wall Street Journal article, nobody buys them.
About, the AA studios like Undead Labs and stuff like that, and Psychonauts too. Psychonauts 2 looks great, but again, I don't think it's going to move the needle. Like Psychonauts 3, if that's exclusive or whatever. I really like the games that Tim Schafer makes. I really like them, but again, I don't think they move the needle.
But then I think they would say, move the needle on what? Console sales? We don't need to sell consoles, Jez. That's not our business model.
Well, to that I would say, fair enough. But then you're going to have Google, who might start producing those AAA games. And you're going to have PlayStation, who will offer everything. They'll offer the console games. And presumably, if Microsoft sells them the xCloud tech, which I think they probably will, Sony will have the full package deal. Sony will have the great games, they'll have the great cloud streaming, and they'll have the great console. Whereas Microsoft wouldn't have the full package. You know what I mean? I don't think
great cloud streaming from Microsoft themselves.
Yeah. I don't think Microsoft can afford to be complacent about any aspect of this. And we can argue that they're not being complacent, and that's the whole thing of the initiative and stuff. I'm just sick of waiting. I'm sick of them making us wait. Literally, Gears of War comes out in September, and they're making us wait to find out the real meat of what the campaign is. They're making us wait for that. They're making us wait for 3 months. And meanwhile, Sony basically have a full roadmap out for the next year or two. It's really frustrating. And I understand why people are frustrated with Xbox. I understand why it's so easy for Sony fans to mock Xbox, because Microsoft makes it easy, They're so careful and cautious and conservative and stuff like that. Why? What are they afraid of, It just comes across like trepidation, and maybe it isn't, but that's how it comes across, man.
Yeah, the Gears thing, I don't get either. The whole, we're 3 months from launch. No, 2 months from launch. And, nobody's seen anything. It doesn't really inspire a lot of confidence in the game. Normally, if it was some other developer or publisher, I'd be like, they're hiding the game. They don't want people to know about it. But, I have to think Gears is going to be much better than 4. And this was just their marketing strategy that they came up with. We're going to show the multiplayer in July, and then we're going to show Horde in August. They think by constantly having all this information out there that somehow they are going to drive interest in Gears, right? But I look at some statistics, and I don't think there's any interest in Gears really at all. You go on Microsoft's own YouTube page, the Gears trailer has 188,000 views. 188,000 views. The Escape CGI trailer has 200,000 views. The Project Scarlet reveal is 2 million. The Halo Infinite teaser trailer has 2.2 million. Microsoft Flight Simulator has 3 million. Ori has 600,000. Even freaking Battletoads in 2019. The trailer has 600,000 views, and Gears of War 5 can't even push 200. Like, there is some serious lack of marketing and awareness going on for Gears of War, and I don't know who's to blame for that. I don't know if it's because people tuned out from the Gears franchise after that awful Gears Judgment game back in 2012 or whatever.
Was it really that bad? I've never played Judgment.
Gears Judgment was awful. They should have never let a second-tier studio like People Can Fly make that game, because it basically ruined the Gears franchise, right? And like Beat Zim in Life says, he says in chat, Gears is old and tired. And you know what? I'm starting to think so. I don't really think there's any interest in Gears of War. Just judging from the YouTube metrics and the search metrics, nobody really cares about the franchise. So having this kind of like, oh, here's multiplayer, here's Horde, here's campaign, I'm not sure that's going to do very well. Now, I hope the game's awesome. I really hope it's good. I think it could be potentially, a game of the year candidate, right? Like, if the campaign is as good as I think it could be, but I've noticed a definite lack of interest in Gears of War when you compare it to other stuff, even other stuff by Microsoft's own things. Like,
see, that's what really annoys me, is because this is the game that's supposed to prove that Gears can be more than just a corridor cover shooter. This is it. They always said you need to betray the fans to evolve a franchise, blah blah blah, add new features and stuff like that. But from what I've seen so far, Gears doesn't seem to do that very much. And like, I think people aren't tired necessarily of the universe, they're tired of the format. And if like Gears really is the biggest Gears game ever made with the biggest, broadest maps and stuff like that, they haven't showed us. All we've seen that sort of comes close to sort of explaining that is the fact that there is a scene with a vehicle in the first trailer. But the thing is, the other Gears games have driving sequences in them too, so that isn't like particularly shocking. So I think it doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be something wrong with Gears or something bad about Gears. What it means, it just sort of creates this perception that they're hiding something, because that's what's happened in the past. Like, I kind of feel like Mass Effect Andromeda had this sort of weird marketing cycle where they weren't properly talking about the game. And I feel like I always had this weird feeling that there was something wrong with Mass Effect Andromeda because of it. So like, maybe that's on me for having that weird feeling, but it is what it is, I think like the marketing for Gears hasn't been great. And and also just purely because of how at least I am used to not expecting too much from Microsoft now. When they're not showing me things up front, I feel like they might be hiding something. I don't know.
Like Crackdown?
Yeah, maybe.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. I just don't like. I think Gears 4 was, I thought, good. Right? It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. It was like, it's a very safe title. And I understand. Like, and like, you're a new developer. You're working on this franchise. You got to show the core audience that, hey, we can do Gears. I mean, it didn't help that the first two acts of Gears 4 were horrible with the robots, right? But they basically made it in 2 years, and now they gave them 3 years to make this. They've talked about how this is the most open Gears campaign ever and all those little buzzwords, but I haven't seen it. I've seen 40 seconds of quickly cut gameplay trailer from the campaign. I think if they nail it, it could be a Game of the Year contender, because I don't really think this year's been very strong for Game of the Year contenders yet. But of course, there's the other part of me that's just like, you never know, Rand. Gears 5, they're not showing it for a reason. So it's like, they maybe it's not very good. Maybe, and my worst fear, Jez, is that you play the game, the campaign's over in 7 hours, and they say, tune in to December when we download Gears of War 5's campaign part 2, Kate's Journey Continues, and it's an episodic format.
Yeah,
That's
see,
like
that's what I'm always thinking. Like, I'm worried there's going to be some kind of gotcha,
yeah,
and that's
like,
why they're being
oh, guess
exposed.
what? Yeah, it's episodic campaign, because because we can't give you the full product at launch, we need people to keep on playing in Game Pass and stuff. So like that's the worst case scenario for me. But I still think it's going to be a really good game.
Yeah, I mean, I love, as long as it's as good as Gears 4, I'll be happy because I really enjoy Gears 4. I played the hell out of Horde mode and stuff like that. But like, again, we're talking about moving the needle and like what they need to do to sort of just stop playing it safe. Like I'm happy if they play it safe because I don't care. But I'm sort of I'm looking at it from a high level analytical perspective.
Yeah.
Would
And,
I recommend?
Future Generations goes
Xbox
episodic? What? They've never done that. Cat's reaching with that. I did say it was a worst case scenario, which implies I don't think it's happening, but that would be the ultimate worst thing to happen. I don't think they're going to do episodic content for any of their stuff. I think it's going to be a fully fledged campaign around 12 to 15 hours. I think you'll have the multiplayer with Escape and the map editor and Horde. I think you'll get a compelling package at $60, which most people will use Game Pass for to access because that just is the Microsoft way now. It'll make it, and if it gets decent reviews or really good reviews, I'm sure it'll do well on Steam. Although you have to wonder, like, are they gonna? Because apparently Gears 4 and the PC still has issues to this day.
Mm.
And you have to wonder if it's like, are they going to clear all that stuff up? Is the PC version going to be, up to par with the console version? Because if it launches on Steam and Windows 10 and there's problems with the PC version, you can kiss your sales goodbye. Like nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to buy it. So that's the thing. It's like, yeah, they're going to get more people playing Gears for sure because the Game Pass. Obviously, there's more Xboxes out in 2019 than there were 2016. They're also releasing it on Steam, so it could be like one of those. Hey, we're gonna have more players day one than we ever had before. But if word gets out that the PC port's not very good or something, that'll keep the PC players away. So they gotta make sure that like, hey, everything's ready to go. Everything's good. So, Nine Live says Rod said Gears 5 will have 5 game modes. Well, so you got campaign, horde, the escape mode, the versus, and I think they're considering the map editor its own separate thing too. So that's 5.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, by the way, Bleeding Edge is 6 frames per second on Xbox. I just fired it up and had a look.
60 frames on Xbox. That's good. It needs to be for that type of game. It definitely needs to be 60 frames per second.
Yeah. Feels good. It honestly feels good to play. It actually feels a little bit smoother than what I played at E3, so that's promising.
Now, Jez, I wanted to get your take on this, but what do you think about Sony's coming out, basically not being quoted, none of their representatives are quoted, but it was from the Wall Street Journal, saying that they are targeting the PlayStation 5 for people who obsess over graphics, who love the big AAA productions, because in their eyes, people buy consoles for big AAA games, not for small indie smartphone-like games. And that they're spending all of their resources and time bolstering their relationships with the big publishers at the expense of the smaller mid-tier publishers and the developers, because they're trying to position the PlayStation 5 as the system you need to get if you're a hardcore gamer. They talked about getting more exclusives, whether through timed exclusivity deals or co-marketing deals. Like when you saw that, what was your first thought about that?
Well, it was interesting because it was less of a leak and more of like Wall Street Journal's doing their marketing for them or something. But my first thoughts were, well, duh. What else are they gonna say? And, like, Xbox has always been for the. I mean, PlayStation's always been for the hardcore, like this whole gen, pretty much. Um, and I think it's clever by Sony to have put this out there, because it feeds into that whole narrative that Xbox is abandoning the hardcore, or like focusing more on the broader audience, the bigger picture, moving away from its traditional audience and stuff like that. And it sort of capitalizes on this whole meme that even we're perpetuating, that Microsoft is more interested in building a huge platform rather than nurturing the platform they've got. So it's pretty smart, because at the grassroots level, Sony seems to understand gamers better than Microsoft does, and at the grassroots level, it's those sort of influential people who make content and put out articles and make YouTube videos and do podcasts and stuff, that sort of, they speak to their friends, and they're the people who sort of decide for their groups of friends which platform they're going to play on. Like, there's a whole South Park episode about this, where like all the lads are arguing over whether to get an Xbox One or a PS4, stuff like that. You tend to pick the consoles that your friends pick, right? And if you are the kind of person who's not super engaged in the news, but your friend is super engaged in the news, you'll listen to your friend's recommendations above everyone else. So if you manage to get those engaged people on side, that just drives a halo effect over your product. And I think that's something Microsoft hasn't been very great at this gen in terms of its marketing stuff. And Microsoft tends to sort of speak into the void sometimes. I mean, Microsoft are doing some really great stuff, really positive stuff for the community, like the Elite controller and stuff like that. Like, don't get me wrong about that stuff, but I think like Sony's being smart about pandering to that core, and they did that. They showed that they have a capacity for that in 2013 when they did the whole how to share a game on PlayStation 4, because they know how to speak to those gamers. They know how to create memes, basically, and they know how to use memes in their marketing. Microsoft just doesn't. They're not good at it.
Are you saying Microsoft's marketing needs a refresh?
I think they need to be a little bit braver. I kind of feel like Microsoft almost has this sort of this perpetual lack of confidence. Like, it comes back to this whole sort of not wanting to show things properly. They just sort of tease things and hinted things and stuff like that, and that's why people are so eager for leaks, is because Microsoft isn't that transparent. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about Sony's hardcore gamer thing? Is this whole hardcore gamer thing just some bullshit that only we, us guys here watching this podcast and making podcasts, care about? Is that all? Is that sort of an insular bubble? Are we living in a tech bubble, or does this hardcore audience actually matter?
Well, okay, so it's like, what is hardcore? Who is hardcore? Like, how do you define the definitions of a hardcore gamer? Like, I still don't really know. Like, is a hardcore gamer someone who plays 5 hours a day every single day, but only plays one game? Like, if someone plays Fortnite for 4 hours a day every single day, would you classify them as hardcore? I think from Microsoft and Sony's standpoint, yeah, you putting that much time into the system, even if you only play one game, you're probably hardcore. Is someone who buys 20 games hardcore? Is there like a line? Is like you have to buy more than 10 to be considered hardcore? So it's like, I don't know. I think hardcore is just a term with really no definition, right? Because someone who plays Fortnite or Call of Duty for 10 hours, or say for like 30 or 40 hours a week every single week, is hardcore. They may only play one game, but they're definitely super hardcore. Now, is someone who goes out there and buys 100 games a year? Are they hardcore? Well, most definitely, but they may not play as much as the other guy. So there's all these different definitions. So
I think when Sony, when Sony talks about making games and consoles for the hardcore and then puts that out there in their marketing, I feel like in that context they are speaking directly to more like influencers and content creators. People who are obsessed over the stuff and read all the news, and the people who are actually going to sit there and read them say that statement and then read the analysis of that statement.
I think what they probably think is the hardcore are probably the people who spend the most money on your platform, right? And I think Microsoft views that as too, like, because I've asked, like, technically, like, I've asked someone at Xbox, like, what term would you describe me? And I forget what term it was, but it was like something beyond hardcore, right? So, like, when Sony talks about hardcore, they're talking about those people who are going to get the systems day one, and they are going to buy pretty much everything. You know, like, it's just kind of just, hey, we're for the hardcore. I mean, but like I said, I still think someone who plays, Fortnite for 3 hours a day every single day is just as hardcore as somebody else. Other people may disagree. Now, however, with all that said, I think this 100% works for Sony. Absolutely. Because it's exactly what they're about. And it's the opposite of what Microsoft is going for. So it's a very interesting, dynamic you have going on there. Clearly, Microsoft is going for the much broader approach. They are going for gaming for everybody. Where Xbox is a platform and you can have choice for where you want to play, right? And you have many different options. You have Game Pass, you have all these indie games and in Game Pass launching. You have these kind of games coming from Microsoft themselves, the big third-party games. They're showing time for Deer games on E3 stage. They want to reiterate to everybody that, you know what, we're for everybody from the ages of 40 down to the age of 10. We are gaming for everybody. Sony, on the other hand, is like, screw that. You know what? We're niche. Like the CEO said, remember? We're completely niche. We are targeted at hardcore gamers because it's the complete opposite message that Microsoft is giving. Even to the point where they're like, we don't even care about indie games. Indie games are still going to come to us because we're still PlayStation and people are going to buy our products, so you won't be able to ignore our user base. But it's just opposing marketing messages. And at launch, Jez, here's the thing. At launch, which is a bigger and better message? Because let's be honest here, Jez. Scarlet 2020 launch, November 20th, say November 20th. PS5, November 13th launch, 2020. Both those systems are $500. Who's buying those systems?
Me.
You, me, but the type of person who is classified as buying those systems day one at those price points would be what?
Hardcore.
The hardcore. The hardcore are going to be the ones. So this is where Microsoft's marketing message kind of gets in the way of what they're trying to accomplish with the console. Because the console, Xbox Scarlet, if it's priced like that, is for the hardcore, the early adapters. But they're going out and saying, well, we're for everybody. Which is true because the platform isn't about the console anymore. As Phil has said repeatedly, he said, we don't need you to buy Scarlet. We don't need you to buy the X. You can do whatever you want. You can play on the PC. So you can play all of our games anywhere you want. Right? But on PlayStation side, they're going to be like, we're going to cater to the people who are going to spend $500 on this system. And what does that mean? We're talking the big AAA experiences, the reasons our data shows that people buy consoles for. Nobody is buying a console to play Deer Game. Nobody's buying a console to play Spiritfarer, even though that game looks pretty cool. Nobody's buying what Sony says as smartphone games. Nobody's spending $500 to buy their system. Now, of course, obviously that works more into Sony's favor because as of now they only have a console to sell you. Microsoft is more of a platform, so they're not so like hung up on the console sales of Scarlet. Everything else is that fits into their whole platform of like, hey, you want to play on the PC, you want to play everywhere else, you can do that. But Sony's still, as far as we know, even though we do think they're going to put their games streaming as well at some point, like they said, they view Google Stadia as a competitor mid to long term, but not in the short term. So they're still going to sell their console. That's still their main goal. And if your main goal is to sell your console and you need to sell in large quantities, the people that are going to buy it at $500, your marketing message better damn be we're for you. We're for the hardcore. Right? And then they're going to have to show some stuff. Which, I mean, you think about E3 2020, you think about Sony coming up to the ball game if they go back, which I think they will, right?
Yeah.
They come out there and they show Horizon Zero Dawn 2 and how that game's going to look. And then they show Gran Turismo 7 or whatever iteration they're on for that game and how that game's going to look on the PlayStation 5. They showcase games from the big AAA publishers, Assassin's Creed Ragnarok or whoever else, the big ones that move the needles. Then they show maybe a God of War 2, maybe a Spider-Man 2. Maybe they tease something at the end for Naughty Dog's new IP that they're working on after Last of Us. Maybe a CGI trailer of that rumored sci-fi game. Maybe there's a new Uncharted from that unannounced Sony studio that they built in San Diego that hasn't been officially formally announced. But all those games, they're going to have one thing in common. They're going to look like $100 million products, right? Budgeted games with the state-of-the-art graphics and a focus on story, which fits right into what Sony's doing as a whole, right? And the gamers and the hardcore ones are going to look at that and they're going to be like, God damn, they weren't lying when they said it was for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then on the flip side, Microsoft, I don't really expect that from them. Like honestly, like I'm even kind of curious to think like with what Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is going to look like. You can kind of picture in your mind most of what Sony's games will look like. Very photorealistic. But Microsoft tends to make games that are a little bit more cartoony in nature, a little bit, that aren't Gears and Halo. So when you hear about like a Fable, which could be a big AAA production from Playground, it's like, is it going to be more like Witcher in realistic nature, or is it going to be more like Fable, like the OG Fables, like cartoony?
Mm.
And then you're also going to have Game Pass, which is going to be a huge focus, and Game Pass, will have a lot of the indie games. So like, while Sony is going to be focusing on the bigger games, Microsoft is going to be focusing more on their own initiative stuff, plus the smaller games that they're going to be able to launch in the Game Pass, which I guess it's good for Microsoft that Sony's basically not going to give indies a time of day anymore because they have a place to go to, either Nintendo or Xbox. So, like, when you think about it like that, like, it works for Sony 100%. Like, what they're doing, what they've done this generation, and what they continue to doing, it's a marketing message for the first couple years for the PlayStation. That's all it really is. And the people who buy your stuff at the beginning of the gen are the hardcore, so you need to energize them. However, that marketing message will change after a couple years, because then they're going to be looking out to broadening into the semi hardcore and the casuals, right?
Yeah.
But it's really just a difference of business strategies. Really, Sony's going to try to sell you a console that they need you to buy, when Microsoft's like, buy it if you want, but just play on our stuff. Really? Do you kind of agree with me on that one?
I do. It comes back to this whole confidence thing, not having, just not being able to project a future roadmap because you're worried that something will go the way of Scalebound or Fable Legends. I mean, if it was Sony, I feel like we would have seen Fable 4 by now.
Probably.
Don't you think?
They would have shown it. I mean, they showed everything they had back in 2016. You know, it was a gamble, but clearly that gamble paid off, right? I mean, what they showed in 2016, Sony showed God of War, they showed Spider Man, they showed Death Stranding, they showed Last of Us Part 2. The only game they didn't show was Ghost of Tsushima, which they showed the following year. And literally was their entire rest of the PS4's life cycle was E3 2016.
Mm.
I mean, we didn't really know about it then when what like that was it, but it ended up being it. You know, The Last of Us 2 was shown off at PSX 2016. They showed it off that year. I'm not talking about E3 2016. I'm saying they showed it off in 2016, PSX 2016.
Yeah.
But yeah, Microsoft tends to hold things closer to the chest. Like everything they showed this year, they said is coming out in the next year or so, right? It got people really, I don't know. Like I didn't like the show. You guys know I didn't like the show. Jazz liked the show, but you know, it is what it is. I'm not gonna talk about it anymore. You know, the E3 conference, but my biggest thing with Xbox has always been their lack of first party studios. So now that I see that they've, you know, improved on it, invested some money, yeah, I'm more than willing to give them time. Like I know games take time to make. You don't get a great experience after a year or two. Shit takes time. You know, God of War took 5 years. Like so I know like Fable's going to take time from
Oh,
Playground Games and the Initiative and stuff, you know?
Bethesda's out here saying, "Yeah, we're working on Elder Scrolls." You know,
I know, and that's the only thing people are holding down to the Bethesda is like they told us Elder Scrolls 6 is coming, even though it's probably 5 years away, and Starfield's coming, even you have no clue what that is. But they were like, whatever. And even Nintendo was like, oh, by the way, here's a JPEG of Metroid, right? And people were like so happy because I think
why
all people
can't Xbox do that?
because I think
I don't think that's a bad thing to let people know what's coming.
because they've gotten burned so many times this generation that I think they're over that. Like they got burned on Scalebound, right? They got burned on Fable Legends. They got burned on Phantom Dust. They got burned on Crackdown 3. Like, and I think that sits there and that resonates with the people making decisions that we can't show stuff too far out because what if we don't finish the project? Right? I mean, they admitted they showed Scalebound too early and Crackdown too early and stuff. Like that's the holdup, you know. That's realistically what's going on here.
Yep, it is what it is, but it's just part of that resonating annoyance that I think a lot of Xbox fans seem to share. That we don't really know what's coming, and we have to take a lot on faith. And the things we do know are coming are sort of AA games that you're not really going to expect too much from. You know, I don't know. I don't know, Rand. I don't know.
But
What
do
should
you
we talk about?
know? I mean,
I do know that someone is selling, a gamer girl is selling her bathwater for $30 a jar.
oh yeah, the gamer girl. Who? All right. So Belle Delphine is selling her bath water and is calling it like gamer water or whatever. Who here in chat's buying this? Because I know there's got to be a few pervs in chat that are being like, yeah, I definitely want me some of this. $30 for her bath water. Give it to me. So who here in chat is gonna give Belle Delphine some money, huh? Lethal, you gonna be you lethal. Hyper, how about you, Hyper Light Drifter? Give some money to Belle Delphine?
So
Zalker definitely would. Definitely.
I just want to say, like, I just pulled up Bella Delphine's Instagram page where she posted this ad. Pornhub's official Instagram account has replied and said, "Genius, how much will you sell your toenails for?"
Yeah.
Oh god.
Gamer
Girl bathwater, man.
Gamer girl bathwater. Oh, so good.
Maybe
So
we should
good.
sell our podcast bathwater. So
Nobody would buy it. It'd be disgusting.
dude, someone will buy it, right? One of you guys will buy our bathwater, right? We could sell it for like, I don't know, $1, Xbox $1.
Xbox. Since we didn't do the podcast last week,
No, we did.
I wanted to get your take about the free speech issue about Xbox Live.
All right, yeah. So this free speech thing. So Phil, I think like it was a huge interview, but I think was it Kotaku?
Yeah, it was Kotaku.
They
Yep.
front loaded the interview with Microsoft's Xbox saying that Phil saying that Xbox isn't a free speech platform, and obviously that really upset some sensitive people out there. I think like in today's world, we can't really have free speech on private platforms because people just abuse it. You know, free speech as pertains to the law is about government, because if you can't criticize the government, then that's how you get fascism. But corporations aren't the government, so it's about creating a safe place for kids to play, creating a safe place for people to just have fun and not have to worry about assholes coming in their chat and stuff like that. I think like people should just pipe down, you know. If you want a free speech platform, you can just go on PC, you know. The Mordhau devs recently came out and said, we're not going to police our user base. We're going to let our users mute people they don't like, you know. So if you
It's
want that,
definitely
there are games out there like League of Legends too.
it's definitely like Xbox Live has never been like a free speech platform.
No, it hasn't.
So it's
You've been able to be banned on Xbox Live for saying like being racist and stuff since forever. So this isn't
but a
exactly.
lot of people don't understand exactly how free speech works. Like you said, it's just the government. But it's you definitely like it's so weird because I see these things come on my timelines all the time. Like I'm done with Xbox. This is true on the PlayStation. It's like, do you realize PlayStation and literally every other business has the same thing? Like you're not allowed to harass people and do that type of stuff. Like you'll get banned. And like it's a simple thing. Just I don't know. Like it just it's such a weird thing that number one, Phil had to come out and even say it and be like, yeah, we're not a free speech platform. And then people getting upset about it and thinking that at some point it was a free speech platform. Like Twitter, YouTube, every single privately owned thing is there's no free speech. Like you can like look, you can say what you want to anybody on Xbox Live, but guess what? That doesn't mean you're free from consequence. Because if that person reports you and Microsoft's enforcement team finds that, you know, a deemable or an actionable offense, you'll get in trouble. So like you can say what you want, but if that person takes action, you're screwed. So I don't know what else to say. Like you can go and say I'm switching to Sony. They have the same policy. And Nintendo, well, I don't even does Nintendo even have voice chat? I mean, I think that do they even have messaging chat? I'm not even sure. Um,
I don't know.
I don't even know. I don't know. Like all I know is like it's weird that that like Phil even had to come out and say it. Like I thought it was more important that Phil talk about, you know, the quality of their games in that interview
It
and
is
how it was hard, you
because
know.
like especially in English, right? I find that Americans are very sensitive when it comes to swearing compared to Brits and Australians, because I don't know why, and I don't know if it's all places in America, but like things that are offensive in America just aren't offensive in the UK. But if I get an American mod moderating my trash talking, which isn't offensive in the UK, and then they ban me, you know, there are sort of grey areas that make this sort of thing hard to police. But then there are clear red lines, like racism. People should be banned. If you're racist on Xbox Live to insult someone or for any reason, you should be banned. As simple as, you know. So I think like, and that seems to be the case. So I don't know.
All right, you know what? I have to bring this up because I'm seeing it all over my timeline. What the hell is with people going to a grocery store and like licking ice cream and putting it back into a tray? I just literally watched somebody go down the
I,
oral hygiene product thing and grabbing Listerine mouthwash, taking a swig of it and spitting it back into the container and just walk away. What is going on with people? What the hell is going on? What is wrong with our society? What the hell, people? Like, really? Like, I get sent this stuff. I'm looking at it. This is freaking disgusting. I mean, it's one thing to talk like, hey, Bella Delphine's selling your bathwater. You know what you're getting into when you're buying Bella Delphine's bathwater. But if I'm going to freaking Jewel or Walmart and I'm getting some ice cream, there better not be someone licking that shit. Like,
dude,
what?
dude,
People
dude,
are filthy and disgusting, dude. Like, what
dude.
the hell?
I tell you what, social media has caused this breakdown of society. I think because you notice that people have filmed this stuff.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
want, they want engagement. It's like Microsoft; they're addicted to engagement, and everyone else is too. And that's why, like, you get YouTubers going to the suicide forest and laughing at a dead body because
Dude,
everyone wants engagement.
if I was at a store and I saw somebody go up to a thing of ice cream and lick it and put it back, I'd go up to him and be like, "What the fuck are you thinking? A mouthwash for something for like oral hygiene, and you're backwashing into it? Are you what? Like, send these people to jail." Like, I know like a lot of food does have tamper seal proofs and stuff, so but some of them don't. But yeah, it's literally like people do the dumbest shit, Jazz. And you're right, it's 100% for attention on social media. Like, remember the Tide Pod challenge? People were literally like what eating Tide Pods because people were doing it on social media. I swear to God, people are sheep. They are utter sheep. They will see whatever is trending anywhere or whatever celebrity's doing something, and they will like when one of the stupid Kardashians was doing that stupid thing with their lips, and then suddenly all the girls were doing the stupid thing with their lips. Like, are people just that much of I don't I can't comprehend this, man.
Uh,
Nasty. There are so many nasty people out there.
it's life, man. The internet has given voice to fringe elements of humanity that are a bit unsavory. Put it that way.
Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
It is. It is. What are you gonna do, man? You just the thing is like, I used to get all upset about politics, about the way the world is, but lately, Rand, I've just decided to take a step back, take a deep breath, and just forget about it. Just accept the world in all of its screwed up glory, and just wait for the apocalypse and play as many games as you can until World War III. And
Wait
then,
for the apocalypse.
yeah. I mean, as long as I get to play Cyberpunk and maybe the next WoW expansion before the World War III, all good, man. All good.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. But Brad Sams had reported recently that the xCloud console may not be dead, Jez. Even though Lockhart's supposedly dead and canceled. This one might be on its way back. What do you think?
I haven't seen any evidence that it is coming back, but Brad obviously has tremendous sources, so I'm willing to put faith in what he says whenever he says it, frankly. If the previous streaming box, I believe, was called Hobart or something, if I remember right, and it seems like they're going to bring it back. To me, it makes total sense. I mean, to have some sort of device that can convert a TV into a cloud streaming device like a Chromecast or something. My issue is that Microsoft doesn't really have the same app ecosystem that Chromecast would have and stuff like that. I don't know. But the thing is, it should be super simple for Microsoft to do this. And it makes sense, you know. If you don't want to buy a $200, $300, $400, $500 Xbox, you can just get one of these xCloud streaming sticks and then slap it straight into your TV, connect to the Wi-Fi, and then pay a subscription, and boom, you've got streaming on your TV. You don't have any of the heat that the console generates. You don't have any of the extra power. You don't need an extra power outlet, but you've got all those games, presuming it works, of course. So for me, it's an utter no-brainer that Microsoft should make this device. So I think it's definitely coming, personally. That said, I have no evidence that it is. So, as always, wait for the official announcement. But it is fun to speculate. I think they should make it, though.
Yeah. I mean, do they really need it in the era of like, hey, you can just stream everything to your phones? Though
I think so, because sometimes you want to play it on a bigger screen.
that is true. Like you could do like a Chromecast thing, right? Like what Google's doing.
Yeah,
Basically,
I mean,
like
presumably as well, you could connect maybe like 2 or 3 controllers or 4 controllers even to a stick, and then you could play like, I don't know, Killer Instinct or something. Have a lobby, stream Killer Instinct to your TV. Just an example, that'd be hard to do on a phone. Like have like your mates around and then everyone huddle around the phone. But you'd be able to do that on your TV. So I think it's a no-brainer.
hmm.
I'd like to see it anyway. I'll tell you what else I'd like to see around.
What would you like to see, Jess?
A folding Windows tablet.
A folding Windows tablet.
Where the bottom half of the screen is a controller and the top half of the screen is xCloud. That's what I'd like to see.
Ooh, that sounds pretty cool to me.
Does sound cool. I wonder if it'll happen.
Well, I would never use it though.
Yeah, maybe.
So you think the streaming console makes more sense than Lockhart, or at least Lockhart did?
Man, I don't know. I mean, we don't really know that much about Lockhart, and I think so much of Lockhart hinged on the price point, also hinged on the power of the PlayStation. Like, I suppose the idea was for Lockhart and Anaconda to sandwich the PS5, but it sounds like the PS5 might be as powerful as Anaconda, which pretty much makes Lockhart redundant in my view. So, I don't know. The almighty Spartan God's telling me to switch to PlayStation. I do have a PlayStation, mate. But the problem is I have 500 games digitally on Xbox. So that's where I will always play. And I have like 200 games on Steam. So that's where I will always play on PC, except for the Battle.net launcher.
Yeah.
So I will only use PlayStation for exclusives. There's nothing that can do to get me to switch.
Only use it for exclusives.
Yeah. I'll only ever use it for exclusives because Microsoft's locked me in digitally. Unless I can get a refund on all those games, I can't switch. So that's my logic.
Well, that's interesting logic, but you know what? Let's open up the floor to some questions. So we'll take some of your questions. I want to thank everybody for being here. I think we had close to 500. If you guys could hit the like button if you enjoyed the podcast, and if you're listening to this later on Google or iTunes, we appreciate you. Leave a review if you want. We did get that awesome review a couple weeks ago, which made Jez incredibly happy. But yeah, if you want to ask us something, go on, and we'll definitely do our best to give you a truthful answer. Virgil Delgado says, Randy, you going to play Tom Clancy's Elite Squad? Elite Squad? I've never even... What is that? I have no idea. I have no idea what Elite Squad is.
I'm going to look that up. Is that the mobile game? Oh, yeah, it's the mobile game.
Oh, no, I'm not. I'm not going to play that. Nope. Gunstar wants to know, does Microsoft needs to partner with TV manufacturers and get the xCloud chip in there? What you think?
That'd be interesting. The thing is, it's not a chip. It's xCloud. They wouldn't need a chip. They just need an app. I suppose if they make... Because most TVs, the apps that run on most TVs, they tend to either be like Android apps or PWAs or something like that. There's no reason to think that Microsoft can't make a web version of xCloud. And if they can do that, then I don't see why xCloud wouldn't be on TVs natively anyway. I
Yeah.
suppose Microsoft already has a pretty good relationship with Samsung in general. Like a lot of Microsoft software comes pre-installed on Samsung phones, and Microsoft had that special marketing deal with the QLED TVs, which by the way are awesome. I have QLED myself and do recommend them, especially the new ones. Um, so I think like I think there's Microsoft. I know from talking to people at Microsoft that they've thought about every angle to this. They're speaking to Apple about iPhones. That they don't have to speak to Google about Android because it's an open store, but they are speaking to Apple about xCloud on iOS devices, and they are speaking to other manufacturers about building accessories for the phones and stuff like that. So I would hope that Microsoft hits the ground running with xCloud because they are pretty serious about this stuff. Like it's up there with like their future plans for world domination. This xCloud stuff. This isn't not a side project for Microsoft. It's everything. So
Yeah. I think all they really need is an app. I mean,
yeah,
PlayStation now had like a app in Samsung TVs. They could do something like
dude,
that.
Elite Squad looks pretty good, man. I mean,
Doesn't?
your boy Sam Fisher's there.
Shut up about that, Jez.
What?
No.
He's there, right in center.
Whatever. I'm not playing it.
Looks pretty good. Collect and upgrade your favorite characters from Rainbow Six, Ghost Recon, The Division, and Splinter Cell on mobile devices. Command your best squads in stunning and dynamic 5v5 battles. So
No.
you could take Sam Fisher and put him next to people from Rainbow Six Siege, and then battle.
You're killing me, Jez. You're killing me right now. We're supposed to be answering questions, not you reveling in my hatred of what
I'm gonna,
Ubisoft's doing.
I'm gonna
My
pre-register.
agony.
I'm gonna pre-register for this game.
OG Cryptar wants to know what games are you guys playing right now on which platform? Oh, we talked about the beginning, but I'm playing Hollow Knight on Xbox, and Jez
I'm
was playing World of Warcraft.
Yeah, I'm playing patch 8.2 in World of Warcraft, which has a whole new raid coming next week. So I'm excited about that. It's really funny, Rand. Like the patches for World of Warcraft are bigger than some expansion packs for some games.
Yeah. If
Other than
Xbox
that, though, I
acquires a
am.
Japanese studio,
Sorry.
who would you like to see them acquire? From Nicodemo. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the last, but yeah. Japanese studio, who would you want, Jez?
I would like Microsoft to go really hard and buy someone big like Capcom or
Ooh,
From.
a publisher.
Yeah, like I'd like them to make a game-changing purchase, but I don't
Hmm.
think that's realistic. So, it's hard. I'd love to see them pick up like, I mean, I don't know, does Mistwalker still exist?
I can't even really think of any Japanese developers off the top of my head. So let's just say they'll buy Platinum. There you go. That's a developer.
See, I'd love for them to pick up Mistwalker and put the team back together that made Lost Odyssey and maybe give that a chance to survive.
Yeah.
But I can't see them doing that. I'd also love to see them do something with the Phantom Dust IP because I think that has something there. But I don't know.
Yeah. Shout out to Mello for the super chat. He wants to know question. Don't you think xCloud will be great because this is like us Xbox guys finally getting a PSP Vita just on phones? I mean, if you're somebody who wants to play games on the go, then I'm sure it probably will be great. But like Vita was a native console or native handheld, so you didn't have to worry about the latency or the data caps. That's where you're gonna have to worry about that with xCloud. If you're streaming from their servers, if you're streaming from your console, it'll be free. But yeah, if you're somebody who wants to play on the go, then I'm sure xCloud will be really enticing to you. See, for me though, it's like, okay, I don't really want to like carry around a controller and then a clip on to the thing. Like, I'll try it out in comfort of my own home just to see if the tech works, but I don't really see myself out there like, all right, well, I'm waiting 10 minutes for something. Let me just, get a quick game of like Apex Legends in or something. Like, I can't see myself ever doing that. What about you, Jez?
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be exactly like a VR because it's not native. Depends on the quality of your internet connection and stuff like that. Apparently, like 5G as fast as 5G is, has some serious limitations because of the frequency that 5G is on. It can't even penetrate glass. So like you won't be able to use it very reliably, even though it is fast. It'll probably bounce back to 4G a lot of the time. And 4G should be a strong 4G signal should be fine to play xCloud on as well. But even then, it's like you're still relying on the data stuff and all that sort of thing. But at the same time, I think just having the portable games opens up a huge amount of opportunity for developers to get bigger audiences and that sort of thing, to try new paradigms. And it's just a new business, isn't it? So I'm excited for it, even though I know it's not going to be for everyone.
So Dan is just Jan wants to know any info on Final Fantasy 14 versus Microsoft's crossplay regulations. So that was something that came out last week, where they basically Square Enix came out and said, yeah, you know what? Crossplay, that's all up to Microsoft. They have these two regulations which, until they lift it, Final Fantasy 14 won't become an Xbox. And
it really frustrates me because I really want to play Final Fantasy 14, but at the same time, my PC can't run it that well. But even though it doesn't really matter anymore because I've just upgraded to a new PC. So I could play Final Fantasy 14 on the PC, but it's still frustrating that probably the biggest console MMO out there, except for the Elder Scrolls Online, like, isn't available on Xbox for completely arbitrary reasons. Like, I don't know how Microsoft hasn't been able to resolve this or make a special exception for Square Enix just to get the game on there. It boggles my mind. I don't know why they can't do that, make an exception.
It's weird because, I think some of it's a poor translation, obviously, because he says, they have a regulation where, users can't talk and chat to, other users on other platforms, but I'm pretty sure Dauntless does that in Rocket League as well. Yeah. And then they mentioned something else you can't form cross-platform guilds and stuff like that. So I think the real issue is that on Xbox, you can opt out of crossplay between consoles or differing platforms. There is a global toggle that you can, turn off or on. And the thing with Final Fantasy 14 is that there are no PlayStation servers and PC servers. There is just Final Fantasy 14 servers, where if you're on PS4, you're on PC, you get mixed together.
That's the insane thing, is that Microsoft allowed that for Final Fantasy 11.
And they don't for this one. So I think that's kind of the holdup, is how Microsoft has a regulation where there has to be a way for Xbox users to play with Xbox users. And Final Fantasy 14 just doesn't support that. It's just there's just one server or a bunch of servers. There are no only Xbox, only PlayStation. You get grouped in. And I think that's kind of what the holdup is. Yeah. But it's been so long. I don't think Final Fantasy 14 is coming over.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah, they've had a long time. Eternal Shaddai, thanks for the super chat. He says, PS5 being hardcore gamers, what will happen to casual gamers? And also, having too many exclusives on the console, doesn't that eclipse the rest of exclusive? Well, I mean, casual gamers won't buy the PlayStation 5 at launch because it's going to be expensive. So I think it's more of a marketing message, like me and Jess said. Too many exclusives. I mean, I don't think you can have enough exclusives. Sure, you might be able to. There might be a case of too many exclusives launching on a day where you're kind of fighting against yourself. But I think Sony would spread those out. But yeah, that's just a marketing message. The casual gamer ain't buying PS5 for $500. And same thing with the casual gamer. Ain't buying no Xbox Scarlet for $500. They get into those systems when they're much cheaper. And that's just what they're targeting. And I think it works well for what Sony is trying to accomplish. But
for sure.
But with that, I think we're going to end the show. Jess says he didn't want to stay on super late tonight, which, I agree. Tomorrow's 4th of July, so hope everyone has a great 4th of July. Hopefully it doesn't rain. I think it's supposed to rain here in Chicago. But I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us. I think we had like 500 people here. So if you enjoyed the podcast, make sure to hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new. Follow Jez on Twitter. All the links below. They're all there. Jez on Twitter, myself on Twitter, all that stuff. And thank you for listening. If you're listening later on Google Play or iTunes, we appreciate you. And we will be back next week. Right, Jez? Next week? You're not on vacation again?
Yes, we'll be back next week.
And Jez will have a written review for Gamer Girl Bathwater.
I tell you what, we are reviewing. We might be reviewing that Xbox Link's body wash stuff.
There you go. Yes.
So maybe I can sell the bathwater from Xbox shower gel. The Link
All right.
stuff.
Tune in next week for Jez's review of Belle Delphine's bathwater. See if it's any good and worth the $30.
Please no.
Later,
guys.